Welcome to Tokyosaurus. So what's up in Japan? So if you've been on the internet anytime during the last week or so, you must have heard about the Star Wars Battlefront 2's controversy with its microtransaction system. Basically, if you bought loot boxes, you would gain advantages in a competitive environment, like better weapons, abilities, and so forth. Whereas if you were to play the game just normally, it would take you forever to get those same things that people can just pay to roll for. This upset a lot of people, and as you can see by now, has gotten the attention of the world. I'm not going to go into the exact details of the current situation, but needless to say, it has brought people's attention to the gaming industry and its future. In Japan, people's reaction to the actual Battlefront 2 fiasco was pretty much the same as the rest of the world in that they obviously didn't like what was happening there. But the situation actually started a very interesting conversation around how gaming might actually be affected by this controversy in the very near future. A very interesting article has gotten their internet riled up, and it was actually a Forbes article that talked about the current state of the gaming industry as a whole. Let's just go through very quickly the main points of this article. In recent years, the term console war usually referred to PlayStation versus Xbox. PlayStation and Xbox offered pretty much the same thing with games that came on both platforms and a few exclusives here and there. Nintendo wasn't even in the conversation for the last generation of console wars. But after the release of the Switch though, that all changed. The incredible success of the Nintendo Switch has brought up a very interesting question. Which one is more important to the consumer? Accessibility and adaptability, or realism and hardware capability? Which one is more important to you? Now, it's not to say we can't have both, but if Nintendo Switch continues to be this dominant in the gaming market, by the way, it has already overtaken PS4's first 94 weeks of sales in its first 38 weeks of sales, then might we see a shift in Sony's or Microsoft's strategy in their next generation towards a more portable option? And lastly, with Battlefront 2's microtransaction fiasco, which may sound unrelated at first as we're talking about hardware previously and now this is software, the Forbes article states that with Microsoft and Sony's focus on graphical prowess as a main selling point, comes big budgets required to make these new games look even more impressive than the last one, which means they also need to find new ways to get the gamer to shell out more money. But it seems like this is not Nintendo's vision for gaming. So that was it for the article, and what's surprising was that many of the comments pretty much say that we're giving way too much credit to Nintendo here, who is also doing microtransactions themselves, if you haven't noticed, in the freshly released Animal Crossing Pocket Camp that has already risen to the top 10 grossing app in Japan in a single day. And possibly even more now, seeing as how getting a chair to woo special characters to come to your camp would cost 250 tickets each, which is about a little over $10, but obviously you can also patiently wait to save up tickets, which you can get in-game slowly. Many Nintendo titles also have DLC in them, so how can we say that microtransactions is not part of Nintendo's vision is basically the gist of what I'm getting out of the comments section. I think a clear difference between the type of microtransaction we saw in Battlefront 2 is very different than what we normally see from other games, as progression is tied very tightly to microtransactions in Battlefront 2. Having to play over 4,000 hours to unlock everything in the game that people can just pay to unlock is absolute insanity. Yes, Nintendo and everyone else are doing microtransactions, but definitely not like this, where especially the core experience is of a competitive nature. But basically, it became a mess of a thread with over 1,000 comments, with some bashing Nintendo, or rather the article's take on Nintendo, some bashing EA, and some bashing the Switch. You can check it out in the description below. But what do you guys think of it all? Microtransactions because of higher development costs, Nintendo's semi-recent entry into the mobile world and microtransactions, or what about Nintendo's effect on Sony and Microsoft's future console? Personally, I'd rather have Nintendo do their own thing and let Sony or Microsoft do theirs, so that as a consumer I have the option to get either or even both. For microtransactions, DLC apart, I still think we should be able to unlock 99.9% of the game through actually playing the game in a reasonable amount of time, rather than feeling coerced into having to pay for progression. Anyways, as usual, let me know what you think down in the comments below. Don't forget to drop a thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on notifications if you want to be updated with the latest that's going on in Japan. And I'll see you guys in the next one.